Anyway, the last player on this list is Can Uzun. And Manu, this is a really interesting one. 20-year-old Turkish attacking midfielder burst onto the scene for Eintracht Frankfurt, a club who are experts at developing, in particular, attacking talents and selling them usually to the Premier League for a lot of money. And, 12 months ago, this guy looked like he was going to be the next Kai Havertz, the next Mario Götze, whatever you want to refer to him as. He's currently got a market value of 45 million euros. And the interesting thing is the discussion in the market value forum is typically about people saying his market value should go down. So far this season, he's got 8 goals and 6 assists in just 25 games. He's currently the most valuable player at Frankfurt, the third most valuable Turkish international in the world. And he is currently the 13th most valuable player in the Bundesliga. And yeah, there's quite a lot of chat. Danny Carvajal, user's name, I don't think it's the real Danny Carvajal, but of course, if I'm being honest, it wouldn't surprise me if it was. He's like, how can Can Uzun be 45 million euros? He had such a good start, but after that, partly due to injuries, he hasn't achieved much. And then some other user says, Uzun isn't valued at 45 just because of the start of the season. Must forget, despite his age, he scored 6 goals in 20 league games last season, so he's no flash in the pan. Daywalker says, I do tend to think his market value is currently a bit too high. If nothing changes by the summer, I don't think there would be any avoided a drop in value despite his strong scoring record. This should of course be moderate, but I currently don't see any clubs handing over 45 million euros for Uzun despite his status as a talented and good player. And the conversation goes on and on and on. And as I said, people can jump in there and, as they listen to the show and give their thoughts. But the average suggestion for what his market value should be now is just under 35 million euros. So most users saying his market value should drop by 10 million euros. Manu, he's obviously had a very difficult season. Frankfurt in general have had a very difficult season. They've obviously had a huge amount of turnover in terms of players. The manager got sacked, and then of course Uzun has had 2 or 3 injuries which have really kind of upset his season. So it's an interesting conundrum because we're not just talking about a young player going from nothing to from zero to hero. We're not talking about a senior player with one last hurrah or one big transfer fee left in him. We're talking about a young player who's had a few bumps in the road, and we're trying to evaluate where he is at this point in his career.
Yeah, I mean, he started the season so well, right? He scored 5 goals in his first 5 games, and he looked like the next big Eintracht Frankfurt shooting star. We were already talking, similar to Said Al-Mala, we're talking 90 million euros, 100 million euros. He's going to be the next Ekitike and get a huge transfer fee for the club. And then injuries hit. And I think that is really where things got derailed the most. He's been now fit again. He's been playing he played 88 minutes on the weekend against Augsburg and got an assist. His first full game back after a long injury break where he played the full length, 88 minutes, pretty much the full length, and actually, got something in terms of production. We're always very careful when it comes to young players to downgrade them because all that needs to happen is for him to hit another 3 or 4 games where he scores 5 to 6 goals, and then the discussion of it switches very quickly, and then you see his potential. And look, with Can Uzun, late in the show, I'm talking about Yildiz, his national team compatriot, right? And the development that he has undergone, the numbers aren't that far off. Of course, he's doing it in Serie A. Can Uzun is doing it in Bundesliga, which is a bit more high scoring, but the numbers aren't that far off, and that is with an injury as well. So I be careful with a downgrade based on the fact that he's still very young and that the conversation could switch really quickly. And he's also going to be at the World Cup, right? We would look foolish if we downgrade him and then he scores 4 or 5 goals at the World Cup, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you downgraded him. You didn't really show foresight there, did you? So just to offer a little bit insight on how this works when we approach these things. I do market values myself for North America, right? So I have a little bit of insight. But with young players, you have to sometimes be careful.
Yeah, for sure. And as you said, if a Chelsea, a Barcelona, a Real Madrid, whoever comes along and says we want to sign this guy, they're going to be looking at what he has done on the pitch, not what he hasn't done off the pitch with his injuries. And just looking at the rest of the season, got 3 more games, man. He's got Hamburg, he's got Dortmund, and he's got Stuttgart. 3 really big games from a Bundesliga point of view. 3 big clubs with huge support. And if he can perform in those games, it's something everyone in Germany will definitely take notice of. So 3 good stages, perhaps, to kind of show he's still got it, and maybe fight off any potential market value drops. But we'll have to see what happens when the next market value update comes out for the Bundesliga, which won't be far off. But as we've been saying, if you guys want to get involved in these conversations, if you want to vote and tell us what you think these players' market value should be, head to Transfermarkt, head to Forum, and then head to market value discussions. And from there, you can filter by league, you can filter by nationality, filter by club, or you can just search for the player you're looking for in the search bar, and it will all pop up there.